Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Paige, this is Seeking Alexandria, and guys, I am so excited because A, I get to do a foundation review, which we all know. Number one, yes, please, for the love of God, foundation reviews, I love them. So that's exciting. I'm also excited because if you're thinking to yourself right now, girl, how are you even testing this? How are we talking Morphe? This has not launched yet. You're not on their PR. How did this happen? And let me tell you, so I was discussing my channel and I was going through some stuff with Miss Laura Lee, and we were talking about, you know, just what I love to do and what my favorite stuff to review is, and she was kind of looking at my channel and she said, you know, girl, I saw that you love foundation reviews and that you do them on your channel all the time. Do you want me to shoot you over your shades in the powder, the foundation, and the concealer, and you can review them? And I was like, I'm sorry. Yes, and yes. And so she was so sweet. She sent them over to me, and I'm so excited because A, I love foundation reviews, which is amazing, and they got here in time for me to get this video up for you guys. And so this is a completely unbiased review, and now I feel like it's about time on my channel. We're going to start drifting into, did I pay for product? Is it affiliated? Am I being paid to say something? Or does that change my opinion in any way of a product just because a person or a brand gives it to me? And I will tell you right now, the answer is no. Do I, if I've ever given you the impression that at any point along the way I can be bought, girl, you don't know me well enough, because that is not the case. All of this review, everything I say, go into it. I have not touched or swatched not one thing from here. And before I touched anything, I wanted you guys to know, no, not being paid. I can say whatever I want. So it is thanks to Miss Laura that you guys get to see this video, and I'm so excited, guys. She has just turned into be the sweetest, most amazing friend I could have asked for. And yeah, she's just been awesome. So I'm really excited to get to play with this. But as always, in full disclosure, you guys know I always tell you where I get things from or where I bought them, yada yada. And so that is that. Now we are going to dive into the foundations, and I'm so excited. Okay, so she sent me a ton of shades to test out to see what would work best for me. And girl, they're all on the pasty side because hello, look at my complexion, and I'm really excited. So let's go ahead and get into their Fluidity foundation. This is revealing in 60 shades, as we all know. By the way, let's just talk tea real quick. 60 shades of this, 31 shades of the concealer, 15 shades of the finishing powder. That's amazing. The price point isn't awful. It's kind of a little higher than I think a lot of people, myself included, anticipated. For example, the foundation is going to be retailing for $18, the concealer for $9, and I believe the powders are $12. And I think mainly what's kind of catching everyone off guard as far as price is the foundation. I personally, and I think a lot of other people as well, thought it would come in somewhere around the $12 to $14 range. So I'm not sure what played a factor in that. Another thing that I want to throw out there as well, which is actually something I saw from, I think it was the James Charles video, I want to say, where he was finding his foundation. He was talking a lot about the bottles and how people are looking at the bottles and they're like, well, the color on the outside doesn't match the color on the inside. Why is that? What's going on? And so if you're not familiar or you didn't watch that video, if you're looking at the bottle, because even I, looking at these, I'm like, these are all the same color, but it's because these bottles were actually, I guess, dyed this color on the inside of the bottle. So it's meant to look like the fluid, but it's not actually the color on the inside. So if it kind of throws you off, if you get your foundation and you're like, whoa, what? That is why, according to, again, something that I saw on his video. And also, I just want to throw this out there. I did watch other videos on this, so I always like to tell you guys that as well. If I've seen or heard anything else that would, you know, kind of help me along the way, I always like to reiterate that toward y'all. So now we're going to go ahead and get to swatching because, girl, I don't know which one is mine. Okay. Okay, gotta calm down, guys. I was not excited. I have to like brace myself when I go to do a foundation review because I'll just get too excited. Like straight up, I'll get way too excited, and I get to do one, and it's like, like I have to like Sheldon, like I've got to calm myself down. I need to sing like some soft kitty, warm kitty, and like give myself some milk, calm down. Okay, so I have what shades here? I went ahead and I swatched the 5 that I was sent here. We start off up here with F 1.11, 1.12, 1.50, 1.60, and then 1.90. So love these. I just wanted to give you guys a good little look-see at them and kind of how they compare to me. how they compare to me. And here's what I think. Actually, should I leave the camera, maybe zoom it out just a freckle? Yes, that's good. Okay, because whenever I do foundation, I feel like you have to make sure that the camera isn't so close, because then you can't get like an overall picture, but you don't want it so far away that you can't see what's going on. So it's like, huh, but we're good. Now let's go ahead. Which one do I think is going to work best? And I do want to throw out there as well, these are oxidizing slightly on my hand right now, especially this last one, 1.9. That has gotten quite a bit cooler since I swatched it. So something to throw out there, but I'm actually leaning heavily towards this one right here, which is 1.6. Like, I'm thinking she's damn near dead nuts match on my face. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to take a little bit of it, and I'm going to like throw it on my jaw. We can kind of see, put it right next to the acne. That's a good way to get a good judge page. Yeah, that's literally me. Like, is that not me? Very, very close to me. Okay, this is what we're doing. So we're going to grab 1.6 and we're going to go in with her. Yes, so let's, okay, clear off the station. Hello. Okay, so going in farther, like I said, we're going to go in with 1.6. Now, normally when I prime and I do all of my normal reviews, I always split my face and I do 2 different primers. However, going into this review, we already know a ton about this foundation, so I do want to go on to the Trend Mood post when they originally started talking about this foundation, because it has a couple of bullet points about the foundation itself. It says, again, 60 shades, $18 a piece, 24-hour long wear, sweat-proof, transfer-resistant, water resistance, free of oils, fragrance, parabens, great for all skin types, soft matte finish, and full coverage. Whew, girl. And also, by the way, they did release 2 primers with this launch. I will pick them up, but as we know on my channel, I do not review typically ever a new primer and a new foundation at the same time. So when she brought it up, I was like, girl, I don't even need those, because all I care about is that foundation. All I care about is getting that on my face. That is all that matters. Now, in response to what I just read, I'm a little bit shocked, because we have been seeing all of these videos pop up about people trying this foundation and how matte it is, and no one has described this as a soft matte effect. They have all described it as, wow, this is very matte. This is very like dense as far as the mattification properties go. So here's what I'm doing for primer to prep my skin, because I do want to set this up in the best way possible to make it work, hopefully. Now, I'm leaning more as of late on the normal to oily scale. When I was way oily, girl, I would go in, I wouldn't even think about it, and I'd be like, yes, this is the foundation of my dreams. However, as of late, because I've been so normal in my skin type, and even some days on the T-zone, I'm hardly oily at all, which is a crazy concept, but I'm okay with it. I'm learning to live my best life. And so to kick off this whole process, I went in with my Tatcha Silk Canvas, just like I always do lately every single day. And I've been going in, pressing it into the pores in the center of my face, and then a little bit outward onto my more textured areas, and just let that sink into the skin for probably the last 15 minutes or so. And what that does is it just lets the primer kind of sink into the skin, sink into the pores, and also warm up to my skin. So that way, as I'm blending and buffing on top of it, it's already comfortable. It's already cozy all up in my skin. And that's what we want. Now, I'm going to also mention that, you know, for a primer that is this matte, I would probably want to spray my skin with 2 squirts of the Catrice Dewy Finishing Spray or the Tatcha Luminous Dewy, something like that, just to give me a little bit of light luminosity. I'm not talking 20 squirts, I'm talking maybe 2 squirts, just like 1 on each side, just to help it with that mattification as I go throughout the process, because my skin is at a place where I still have to set it lightly, but I also know that this is a very matte foundation, and so I'm going to have a matte foundation with a setting powder, or a finishing powder in this case. So the addition of a spray like this is actually really handy before I go in with any foundation, and I wanted to mention that in this video, just in case you're like me, either your skin is changing, maybe you have normal to something kind of skin, and you're trying to figure out what's the best way to go in with foundation and have it look the absolute best on your skin. This has been a huge help for me as I've tried different foundations, and I've tried this, for example, under the new Dior foundations, and it works beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to give myself just 2 light little spurts. Again, this is the Catrice Prime and Fine Dewy Glow Fixing Spray, which I have been obsessed with. And that's all she's getting, just 2 squirts. And what I love about that spray while I'm on like just this drying mode we're on here, I love that when you spray it on the skin, it doesn't leave you feeling like gross or oily. And it's not the same as like putting a dropper of oil in your foundation. This is just like a beautiful way of giving the skin almost like a jump start against mattification, but not in a negative oily kind of way. It's like a beautiful in between from like natural to oily. It's like beautifully just sitting right in the middle there, giving you a nice little moment to the skin, and I love it, and I think my foundation and my face have been loving it as well. Okay, anyways, that's a lot of talking, so we're gonna go in now with this 1.6 matte ass foundation. We're gonna put it on the back of the hand here, and it does say full coverage, so girl, you know I'm gonna be testing that out because, hello, acne scarring right here. And I am blending this in with my Real Technique sponge. Oh, coverage, okay, 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 I'm listening, I'm here. I heard you, girl. And I can also tell you, I probably won't even gravitate towards a brush because as of late, brushes are the enemy. I don't know why. My skin has just not been loving brushes. I'm also going to clear away whatever just got up under that eye because, girl, we're going to be testing a concealer. Wow, okay, that is matte. Oh, that is matte. Okay, all right, okay, okay. And I'm really just going through and working and pressing this into the skin. And I wanted to take as much of that foundation and spread it around. All right, I need just a tiny bit more for the other side, but I'm loving the way that this looks. It is settling into the skin beautifully. It is very, very matte, yes. And it's like unfazed by that Catrice, which I think is a little funny. Also, we never addressed my hair. I know, she looks cute. Do you love my purple scrunchie? It's my fuzzy scrunchie. I talk about it all the time. Pretty proud of it myself, personally. I think it's a fashion statement. I think it's bold. I think it says, what's up? I didn't want to do my hair yet. You guys, there is oxidizing happening. I'm just actually zooming in to show you. This was the original puddle all the way down here that I put on. Then this is the one I just did, and then this is the fresh dot. And I can also tell because that darkest line down there from the first blob of foundation is what I'm seeing like right here on my neck. And I was actually just grabbing more so I could try and blend that out when I noticed it on my hand being really, really dark. So just something to keep in mind is that, you know, make sure when you go through and do your first pass, blend it down your neck, because girl, she gonna oxidize and then you're gonna look all kind of crazy. Okay, so far, I'm not gonna lie, this actually looks pretty good. It is very matte on the skin, but it's settling down nicely. Now, the first thing I'm gonna disagree with is that they said this would work for all skin types. If you are dry skin, I don't know how this is gonna work for you. We're gonna see how it wears over my more textured areas, and I think that'll give us a better clue. But girl, she matte. All right, and then these are the 4 concealers I have swatched. They go C1.15, C1.25, C1.35, and C 1.45, which is this pink one right here. And I swear that is pink, right? Like, I'm not losing it. That's pink. That is a pink ass concealer. I think for me, I would probably be obviously one of the lighter two because I like to have a nice bright under eye as well as to contour out my sides. And if I don't miss my guess, definitely one of these two. The only real difference is that C 1.15 and 2.5. 1.5 has more of a light pink undertone and 2.5 has more of a yellowy undertone to it. And I would probably, oh man, see, I don't know. I would typically, I think, want to match the undertone of this foundation, which is a little bit more yellowy. But then I'm like, the pink one looks a lot brighter. So those are probably just the 2 shades we're just going to play around with, and we'll see where we get. I think I'm just going to go in with C 1.25, and it is the yellowy undertoned one, which is the second shade on my hand right here. And it's a little bit darker, but I do want to try it and see how it blends out. And then if need be, I can always add a little bit of the other. Now, I'm also not going to go in with a ton of this concealer, and I'm only going to do one side at a time because God only knows how this is going to dry. So this is supposed to be a good full coverage. I think it said full coverage and 16-hour wear concealer. So let's see that theory. Ooh, I actually like that. That's really pretty. That concealer is nice. So I like this shade. I do think it has nice concealer-esque moments going on here, but I do want the brightening of the other shade. So I am gonna grab the C 1.15 here and just grab a little bit of it, just a tiny bit, and layer it up into that inner corner, just because I wanna see if I can add a tiny bit of coverage, but more or less get the nice bright effect. Oh yeah, that's already nice and bright. Okay, much better. So because I did it on this side, I'm going to go in with a little base of the 1.25 first on this side, just a little bit. And then I will go in and add C 1.15 a little bit over top. Ooh, girl. And by the way, on camera right now, I think this side looks a little brighter than this side. That's just because I have more direct light coming from over here. So they are both good. They're both even. I'm just like checking in my own mirror to confirm, but I'm thinking we're pretty good. Now I do want to take this and highlight the rest of my face. So to do that, I'm going to use the C1.15 and I'm going to throw that where I normally would. You guys know the drill. And I think this will be a really good test too to see how it works with the foundation on other areas of the face, because I know a lot of people, not just me, use concealer to sculpt out their face in general, so this will be good. All right, let's do it. All right, so I do have the finishing powders for the Morphe launch as well, but because I'm testing concealers as well as foundation, I want to make sure that I set them consistently, so I'm going to go in and set my under eyes with the Maybelline Fit Me in 05 Fair. This is something I use all the time to set everything, so I know that it'll be something I can trust. And I was thinking about it as far as consistency as well. The Maybelline Fit Me does have a nice thin, very fine feel, which is amazing, but it is not technically a finishing powder, which is what these are considered from Morphe. And so I need to make sure whatever I put on my under eye is dense enough that it can build up and really set the under eye good, because girl, I get creases all day long up in there. So I have to make sure it is set down and ready to go for the entire day. And I just feel like this is the most fair way to do that. So we are going to hit the finishing powder here in just a second. But first, girl, I'm going to stamp out these creases with my under eye, and then I'm going to set them with my Sigma P82 brush, and we're going to be good to go. You got to pat out the creases, pat out the creases, pat out the creases if you want to have a smooth under eye. All right, I went ahead, I stamped out the Hulk, and I'm going to just set him the same way with a little bit of Maybelline Fit Me, because yet again, just like my under eyes, girl, he gets so mad, so finicky. Okay, so now we're going to move on to setting the rest of the face, and to do that, I will be using the Morphe finishing powders, which, like I said, they released 15 shades. I have 2 shades right here. I have hashtag filter 1 and hashtag filter 2. So as you can see, there is a pure white one, which I will probably use to re-brighten up under the eyes. But the first thing I wanted to throw out there in regard to these, and I guess I can do it probably while I just apply, and I'll be doing that with this giant jumbo powder brush from IT Cosmetics, the number 3, and I'm going to take the filter 2 shade and just lightly set the whole face. And the reason I wanted to touch on this is because there's a big difference typically in the world of powders, if you will, between a finishing powder like this and a more traditional setting powder. Like I use the Maybelline Smooth, the Maybelline Fit Me, the Maybelline Matte and Poreless. Any of those are more of a traditional setting powder, and the difference is typically that a finishing powder is a very, very light, finely milled powder, similar to how I use like the Hourglass powder as like an overall veil, and they just have a very nice thinness to them, a very nice lightweight feel on the face. You can use them to set, and a lot of dry skinned people really like setting with a finishing powder. It's just the difference in mill of the actual powder itself that I wanted to touch on. So that being said, these powders themselves are very nice and fine feeling. They don't carry a ton of opacity with them, but they did release them in 15 shades, so they will work with multiple undertones, multiple skin tones. I thought it was really awesome that they released 15 shades, and I'm actually, now that I've played with the foundation, I'm really glad that they released it as a finishing powder, because this foundation is so matte, and it's so matte so quickly that I wouldn't see the need to necessarily set it with anything heavier than a finishing powder. So I think if there was a heavier powder, it would actually work against the foundation. So I'm kind of loving the concept there. Now, one thing I also want to mention with these before I move on is that these come in a nice little compact. They do have a mirror, and if you flip it up, there's a cute little square sponge in here, which is perfect for on the go. And if you do not use a finishing powder, or you have not used one before, they are great for an on the go touch up, especially if they carry, like these ones do, a little bit of color but not a ton of opacity to them, but just a light veil. Because what these will do, if you have normal, combo, oily, anything like that, and you need to do a little bit of a touch up maybe in this area, but you don't want it to get like really weighed down with a heavy foundation powder, because let's face it, we've all made that mistake. We've all reached for that heavy ass powder. You go to touch up and it's like, oh my god, it's chunk city, your nose looks gross or whatever, and you just look chunky and porous, and it's not a good look. I love touching up with a finishing powder for that reason, because they're so light and airy and refined that they help the blottiness of the oil. They might even help fill in a little sparse color here and there. But the one thing they are, in my opinion, best at is not ever going in and looking super thick and super chunky on the skin. I can't stand that look, and I love that when I go to touch up with them, they just keep it looking so smooth and refined. It's like one of my favorite qualities of a finishing powder, so I love that. Now, I also love the way that finishing powder really set down the skin. It's giving me a nice, very flawless feel and like filter up through here, but the foundation itself, I can already tell, isn't settled into my pores, so it's actually accentuating pores on both sides of my nose. This isn't uncommon, so I'm not going to judge it too harshly. For me, I've said this 1,000 times. I have to set my face. Girl, if my face is not set, it is a wonderland, really, because it is a hot mess up in here. It can look all kind of crazy, and then when I set it, everything comes together. So I always like to give any foundation, concealer, whatever I'm using, the benefit of the doubt in that respect, but it is not, as of this moment, settled into the pores on the sides of my nose right here. So it's a little emphasizing, but we're gonna keep going and finish up the rest of the face, which I am actually going to take this white powder right here, and I want to try and put that under the eyes and see if it'll like brighten the eyes. Oh, you know what? I should probably do bronzer. Bronzer and blush first. Good job, Paige. Let's do that. I'll go do that real quick and I will be right back. Okay, a couple minutes later, and I went in, I bronzed with my Dior Backstage contour palette here. I used these two light shades, and then I went in with some Hourglass blush, which is this sexy devil right over here. Mood Exposure. Probably one of the best blushes ever created, just in case you were wondering. Now we are going to go in here in a second and reshape the under eye with this matte finishing powder. So I'm going to be taking this on the Morphe E48. It's like a nice large tulip brush, and we're going to be stamping just a little bit of that powder onto the under eye area. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit here. Where should I look? Hello, Paige. What are you trying to accomplish in your life? I'm just kind of press it. Ooh. All right. We love a nice light bright moment. Now I don't want to over powder because we're already very matte, but that looks very nice under there. And it's not too heavy, it's not too much that I feel like it's going in and really caking up the situation, but just enough that it's nice and bright. I'm just going to lightly press a little bit of this into the other high points on my face as well. I'm really focusing just like a little tiny bit of it on the tip of this tulip brush and kind of pressing it into that inner corner. And it looks really like nice. Look at how bright and awake my eyes look. And girl, I'm tired, okay? Let me tell you right now, my eyes will be shut if they could be. Okay, so I know that was pretty uneventful, really random. Turned the camera on for 2 minutes of me playing with my under eye. But I really like the way that that powder looks under there. It doesn't look too much. It's not overbearing, which is amazing. I'm gonna run off real quick. I'm gonna finish up my face, set it, let it set down for just a second, and I will be right back, and we're gonna do some close-ups and we're gonna talk a little bit. And I'm gonna fix this hair because, girl, she crazy. Look at her up there, just hanging out, being a good little friend, okay? Your day has come, hair, your day has come. All right, so I went ahead, I finished up the rest of my face, and on the eyes, I'm just wearing that same Dior Glow palette, the one that I've been using to highlight. This is my highlight, this is what's on my eyes, the whole shebang. I've been using this a ton just because it's a good, quick, easy on-the-go moment. And then on the lips, I am wearing a Morphe cream lipstick in the shade Forevs, and I wear this all the time. It is so amazing. Their cream lipsticks are fantastic. But that out of the way, I want to touch on this foundation because here's the thing. It doesn't look bad. It's not like overly cakey, overly crunchy. It is still very matte, and I am actually shocked because I went in with 4 squirts of my Catrice Dewy Glow setting spray to really try and meld this whole thing into the skin, press everything in, and just make it work. And what I'm finding is that on my nose, more than anything, it still looks so freaking porous, like on the sides of my nose. And I'll actually try to get you guys an up close of this section because I can't believe that it will not settle in and just settle down. And this is the type of texture, again, up on the cheek or on the nose, anywhere like that, that I've really been able to combat lately with either my Catrice Dewy Setting Mist or my Luminous Dewy from Tatcha. Anything like that has done a really nice job as of late, especially with going in and settling down these more textured areas because they have a way of almost melding together all of the products on your face into just like a perfect harmonious little state. And so right now that's not what's going on. My skin overall, I don't think it looks bad. I'm not like, oh God, I shouldn't go out like this. But when you get up close, girl, this nose situation is like not the best. She's not that cute, and neither is this texture I'm seeing. And I did purposely go in with a highlight that I know is beautiful on my skin, on my texture. It normally sits right down and looks great. So I specifically did choose products that I thought would work the best for what I was doing to test this foundation out because I had a feeling we were going to be on the matte side. And I'm actually really shocked that after 2 squirts of this down before I put the foundation and then 4 squirts after, I don't know how there's any texture or any matte left to this foundation. So girl, she's matte. I'm so glad I put down those couple of squirts before I got started. Like, wow. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do my day, and I will definitely stop back in at the end, let you guys see how it wore, and we're going to kind of continue continue the conversation at that point, and yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, it is the end of the day. I've been wearing all of this makeup for about 10 hours now, and I'm ready to go through and give you my final thoughts. So I'm gonna get started with the foundation, because I think that's what a lot of people are very curious about and most perplexed by, if I'm being honest, because girl, there are some thoughts going around. So the first thing I want to touch on is actually way back this morning when I was looking at the swatches and they oxidized. I was thinking back to that moment all day long, and I kept thinking about those colors and how harsh the undertones were. I just thought it was so interesting that these foundations, when I swatched them this morning, they weren't a foundation that had like a hint of an undertone, if you will. So you'll see a foundation and you'll go, oh, that has a warm undertone, that has a cool undertone, a pink undertone, so on and so forth, right? And I felt like these weren't foundations with an undertone. These were an undertone that had a foundation. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of like the cart was leading the horse, and I think that's why it stuck out so much to me, and literally the reason I thought about it so much. And then I went to the swatches that they've posted like on Trend Mood and all the pictures and things, and I just don't think that the undertone and the color I swatched was matching the person, and that was really, really off to me, and I don't know why. And I wanted to dive into all of this because from my perspective, if things aren't completely lining up, what my recommendation would be to you would be to go to the Morphe website and all of that. If you're curious and you're wanting to check it out, absolutely do so. I'm not going to tell you not to, but just be mindful when you're picking out your shade. They have their color diagram that you can consult, which is good. The pictures that have all the little people in there, if I knew how to be fancy with editing and all of that, I would put it on the screen right now. But go in, look at the chart of the faces to look at the undertone they have it on for that model, but then also reference that to the description of the shade, which Morphe, everywhere I have seen, they have a nice breakdown of, you know, fair with cool, fair with light undertones, so on and so forth. So be sure to cross-reference whatever shade you're looking at with that picture, the description, and then I would also go one step farther and say, go to like the Trend Mood webpage on Instagram or even the Morphe webpage, wherever you can find the swatches that have been like done on someone's arm, just so you can see it one more time in a natural light, or maybe it's a studio light, who knows. But just be mindful to look at these foundations and the color you're looking at in multiple ways under different lights, if at all possible to you, to really scoot around the internet, maybe find swatches on someone like on YouTube that has your similar color skin or similar undertone, because I feel like, and I mean, guys, when I tell you I was thinking about this all day, I'm not exaggerating, it drove me nuts. And what I kept finding was that like my shade, the one I put on today, it looked a little different in this picture, but then it lined up with these other 2 or 3 sources. So if one thing throws you off, just, you know, cross-reference it and get the best picture of it you can overall. And doing this doesn't just go for this Morphe launch. I'm not like beating Morphe up about it, although I thought their undertone choice was a little strong. The overall concept of checking for different swatches in as many places as you can, whether that's Instagram, they have a lot of good ones, of the website, you can go to Google Images, you can go to YouTube, there's a ton of places you can go to find these different shades on different skin tones, but it goes for anyone. And I just wanted to throw that out there because this isn't just unique to Morphe. I think it's important anytime you have to purchase online, because if you're like me, you don't have a Morphe store near you, girl. You've got to just try and chance it online and pray to the good Lord of the foundations. You know what I'm saying? So something to throw out there. I just wanted to keep that in mind because the undertones were very harsh. And then as they oxidized, which as I showed you this morning, they did on my skin tone quite a bit, they got even more deep and even more intense. And like that, I felt like the light pink undertone, the light yellow undertone, whatever, they went to a very robust pink and a robust yellowy warm color. And it's a lot. So keep that in mind. So all of that out of the way, I obviously want to talk about the foundation on my face. And the first thing I want to address is the matte. Did it stay that matte all day long? I'm actually shocked because no, it didn't. And not only did it like loosen up, I kind of expect when you have normal to oily or oily skin, you expect like a mattified foundation to kind of relax throughout the day. It's typically going to get a little bit less oily, if you will. You know, you'll have like your T-zone get oily, whatever. But this one was so matte, I honestly did not expect it to change at all. And what shocked me is that it not only changed, but it was so oily. Like this one got oily on my nose faster than a ton of other foundations. It's almost like it drew oil out of my nose. And I know sometimes, similar to like washing your hair and stuff like that over and over again, the more that you try to correct an oil or the more you try to overdo it with like dry shampoo or washing your hair, you'll actually create the opposite effect and you'll make it more and more oily. That's why they always say to be so mindful when you go in with astringents or toners or dry shampoo or anything like that on your body. And I felt like that was the case with this foundation. It's almost almost like it was trying so hard to be a matte foundation that it was too matte, and it made my nose and my T-zone even more oily, guys. Like, this is more oily than I have been in I don't even know how long, because I just haven't had a ton of oil on my face lately. Again, I've always been like normal to oily, especially in the last couple of months. That brings me to point number 2, my chin and my nose. Guys, there was no sticking to my pores with this foundation. It didn't stick to them. It didn't cover them. It didn't sink into them. I do not know what happened here. I have never had a foundation that did it to this extreme. Like, I've seen it on my nose a little bit here or there where it's like, oh, just a little not coverage. No, throughout the day, this got progressively worse. This morning, it was kind of bad. You guys saw it in the morning close-up. It wasn't too big of an issue. Then this chin situation happened, and I'm telling you guys, I about lost it. I'm like, what is this? I have never had, if you look at my chin, it is every single pore on my chin, no foundation. And I think what it is this foundation is so matte that instead of clinging down and sticking to my face, it's actually sticking to itself. And sometimes what that can cause foundations to do, again, very, very matte foundations, it can cause them to actually recede away from your pores and toward each other. So instead of sticking to my face and to that pore, it's going to the next closest point, which is that fluid. It's wherever the fluid is. And this isn't something that's new. You know, we've seen it every once in a while. I'll say, oh, you know, it's not sticking to pores on the side of my nose, or it's not sticking to here or there. And you'll see it in little places throughout different foundation reviews all throughout the year. I've seen little patches, but I have never in my time on YouTube, I have never tried a foundation where it did that. I mean, that's every single pore on my chin. It didn't stick to not a one. Almost every single pore on my nose. It didn't stick to any one of them. And the real kicker is that it was only by hour 2 or 3 that it was like this. It's been like this all day. They didn't like start off bad and get progressively bad over a long period of time. It was just awful all day. So as far as that, that's my next nick. No thank you. That was awful. And that brings me to number 3. The texture and like a receding lip line. I have an entire little mustache of foundation, which you guys already saw in the close-up, where it just stretches right here. And it's like all the foundation, it went away from my lip and away from my nose, and it just met in this tiny little mustache strip. I don't know what that's all about. Same thing up here on my textured areas. It just stayed so textured. There was no fixing it. And I was beside myself all day long. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on, because something that should be so smooth and so fluid and so matte is like everywhere I turned around, it was letting me down. And so to round all of this out, I know it's a very negative review, but I always tell you guys at the end of a review, how would I make that foundation better? How would I mix it? How would I still get some use out of it? I think the coverage is good. I think it has a nice mattified effect. So I would have to say it would be a Dior. No matter what, it would have to be mixed with some version of a Dior foundation, because you're gonna need that smoothing, you're gonna need that pore filling, you're gonna need that porcelain look, and it does have a decent level of coverage to it, which is great. So I think from my perspective, the only thing that this really has to offer is a decent coverage, which I think is good. That's valuable. Good coverage we love. And it also does have very stark undertones, which it can be very difficult if you have more of an olive undertone, or again, that more pink-based undertone, or a very, very harsh neutral undertone. It can be difficult to find these in foundations. So I think that it does have its plus or its minus depending on what your need in foundation is. But unfortunately for me, the foundation was just not a winner. This is not something I would gravitate towards, or quite frankly, ever want to wear. I'm just not loving it. There was nothing about today that I was like, oh yes, that went well. Like no level at all. I will say though, much to its plus, it did stay like right in this area where I had literally no oil. It stayed a nice velvet look. So I have a feeling this is what it's supposed to look like all day on all areas of your face, but unfortunately the rest of the face just did not follow suit. So that's my thoughts on that. Now, my thoughts on the concealer, which unfortunately you can't really see in the close-up too good. It did finally break apart. I would say it took until about hour 7 to start breaking, and then around hour 9 it was pretty much done. At that point it's broke apart. So is it a 16-hour, oh my god, you can wear it forever concealer? No, not really, but to be fair, I don't often experience that with any concealer. I do find that even on long days where I'm super oily, even my Tarte Shape Tape or my Born This Way, even those will break up on my under eye. Like, it's not crazy. And by making that comparison, I'm actually going to say I'm not too mad at the concealer. I think the concealer did a very nice job. Again, I think the undertones are very harsh, very intense with the concealer, just as well as they were with the foundation, which isn't necessarily bad. I think there's a lot of good qualities to it. My biggest issue with the concealer is that I was kind of hoping it would have more of a natural satin kind of finish to it, and I felt like as I worked with it and blended it out, it kind of drifted in with whatever the foundation was. So I had a matte foundation, it ended up looking more matte on my skin. And my concern is, does the concealer have enough of its own identity to maintain its own property as you wear it with different foundations? So that's something I'm going to be testing out a lot here very soon. You guys know I've been testing out a ton of concealers because, girl, they're dropping like flies. And I'm excited, guys. I'm okay with it. I will test concealers all day long. But as far as this one and how it held up, it actually did a really nice job. I think the under eyes looked very good throughout the day. My only issue that I did notice is that this morning when I left this light and I went and I looked in more natural light, I felt like the under eye crook, like right here and right here, I get kind of a dark blue shadow in there sometimes. And I felt like that concealer, for some reason, almost highlighted that and made it more intense. And it was really weird because I don't often see that. And I don't know if that's like an undertone issue because the undertone of the concealer is so strong. I could see it being a problem having a really dark circle under your eye, because then if those undertones clash, it's going to create like a gray effect. And by that I mean, if you have a really dark blue crook like right in your under portion of your eye right here, and then you put like a really harsh say yellow undertone or pink undertone or whatever it is, what you could actually have is the potential of a gray shadow. So instead of having a blue bag, you're going to have a very intense gray mark look on your under eye. And that's kind of what I was experiencing. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that. This is something I might be totally weird on. Now, onto the finishing powder. This is actually something I wanted to play around with. I want to see, I'm going to blot off my nose with just a piece of toilet paper, and I want to go in and see if this finishing powder works as kind of a touch-up powder. All right, and I'm going to take the Filter 2 shade here, and I'm just going to grab this same big fluffy brush, and I'm going to tap it on the side of my nose and just kind of tap it around. See how it looks? Okay, so here's my thing. I'll try this finishing powder as a touch-up for a different foundation because, girl, there's no saving this. Now it's blotchy, it's still not settling into my pores, and it's still a hot mess. So as far as this as a finishing powder standing on its own, I will have to play with it a little bit more before I know for sure. But I do like it. I actually like the mill of this. I think it's a very nice, smooth powder, which I really enjoyed. And I was thinking back, too, to this morning and how I didn't set my foundation with a regular powder. And I just kind of wanted to reiterate that because here was my thing. I was faced with a big conundrum this morning. I could have set that very, very matte foundation and looked very thick and very cakey, which is definitely an option, and it probably would have helped to stay off these oils a little bit longer. But I am glad I went the route that I did because I feel like it at least gave me the opportunity to really see this foundation for what it is and what it was going to do. And I say that because there's a lot of ways that if you have normal to oily or oily skin or dry skin, there's a ton of ways that you can always wear something, and I don't ever want you guys to think that there's only one way to do it. Example, this morning I made the decision to say, okay, this is a very matte foundation, and it's okay to go lighter on powder if you have a very matte foundation. Just in the sense that if you're working with a more luminous foundation and you have normal to oily skin and you want to set more and you want to add more powder, you're definitely able to do that as well. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, and for the purposes of today's video, I'm so glad that I went the way that I did, because if I would have set it extra this morning with a thicker, heavier setting powder, I think what would have ended up happening is on all of my texture, I would have been even more emphasized, and my nose, I think, would have been actually more oily and even more emphasized because it would have been a lot more cracky and a lot more blotchy versus today where there wasn't a ton up there already, so it just kind of moved a little bit and got very porous. So you guys, that is it for this video. I hope that it was helpful. I love foundation reviews. I know a lot of you love them as well, and girl, this one is a big hitter and it's about ready to drop with force. So let me know down below, what do you think? Is it something you want to try? Is it something you're not into? What are your thoughts overall? Because I think this is a very volatile, a very opinionated launch that we are having, and I want to know your guys' thoughts. I want to know the public opinion of this launch. So be sure to leave me all of your thoughts down in those comments, and then also, if you feel so inclined and you'd love to follow me on all my other social medias, those are listed in the description box as well. I'm mainly on Instagram and Twitter, and if you're new here or you have not done so yet, you can also subscribe and turn on your notification bell, because y'all, let me tell you, I upload 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The uploads go up bright and early between 6 and 7 a.m. my time here in Northern Michigan, and it is a good, fun, fresh lit time. Let me tell you, we talk about everything. Makeup new, makeup old. We do favorites, hate it, love it, wear it again, wouldn't wear it again. Guys, we go over it all, so definitely subscribe if you have not yet, and that is it. Please do not forget to have a great day, night, weekend, whatever it is when you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. I think where I want to start is the foundation, because I think that that's what everyone at this point is the most, what is going on? Oh my God, is it good? Is it not? That's where everyone's the most perplexed. Okay, you guys, it is the very end of the day, right before I'm about ready to take this makeup off my face and crawl my little booty into bed, and it has been on. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go through and take all these little damn plastic stickies off. What is going on? Okay, you guys, this makeup has been on all day and I am ready to cop on here. Okay. At this point, this is about a point. Wait, which one comes next? Paige, do you know how to count? Oh my good Lord. Me over here. What comes first? 4 or 5? Gee, I don't know, Paige. What does come first? You tell me. Oh, or you, okay. Paige, you should also take the plastic off, because, you know, nothing's going to come out of the bottle if you don't. Well, they help with anything like that. They might help, they might even help in color, what? Water. When was the last time y'all saw me drink water? Probably never. Welcome to my channel. Focusing on a little self-care, a little self-love. We're going to get there. Water. It does not taste like Diet Coke with light ice from McDonald's, if you were wondering. It's kind of a letdown, really.